Okay, so I decided to do a, very beginning project for the Arduino. Hopefully, just to encourage people to get started and give it a try and maybe realize it's really not that hard. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually from this experimenter's guide for Arduino, and this comes with the Adafruit website beginning Arduino kit. I think they even just have it there where you can download it. So these are just simple things that give you an idea of how to start with the code and not be afraid of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just making a blinking LED light. So I decided to use a blue LED because I just got these from Amazon and I haven't got to use one yet. So this has a long end and a short end, and we're basically going to have this one be positive and this one be negative. So I want to have the long end is going to go to the board, and I can just say, and that one's in this hole right here. So I'm just going to have it go to pin number 13. And then I need a resistor to make sure we're not getting too much current through this LED. So I'm just going to connect this resistor. This is a 200 ohm resistor. The packet of LEDs I got from Amazon came with LEDs and resistors, which was really nice. And then this whole row, which is all connected down the breadboard. So that one's in that blue negative row, and we're going to connect that to ground on the Arduino. Then we connect the Arduino to the computer. It has this kind of cable. So some Arduinos have like a micro USB. So we're going to connect it to the computer. And then on the computer, I'm going to make the code to have this blink. And then we'll come back and see it working. And then I'm also going to draw a sketch so that you could see maybe in a diagram form what this circuit looks like. So then perhaps when you see circuit diagrams, you'll be able to figure out how to wire them up. And then we'll come back and just wire this all together. Okay, so now we're going to draw the circuit diagram, which is pretty easy, but it's only easy if you've done it before. When you haven't done it, it doesn't make any sense. So this represents pin 10 on the Arduino. Okay, so as I'm drawing the line, each line is like a wire. So this is a wire, and that wire is going to go to the positive end of the LED. And a way that these are typically drawn is such that this is positive, this is negative, and the way that the LED looks here would be like if we're looking at it from the side, and we have a long side and a short side. But this sort of triangle deal is just, convention. So, and then coming out of the other end, this is a conventional way to make a resistor. A resistor is something that impedes the current. So the current's flowing through this wire, and you can sort of imagine the current as being like water flowing. And then when it hits a resistor, which is going to be a different sort of material, this resistor basically resists the flow. So it will say slow down the flow of electricity. So this affects the amount of current that we have. So the higher the resistor for a given voltage or energy that we put into our circuit, the higher the number of the resistor, the lower the current is. So we use this resistor here with the LED because we don't want too much current going through the LED. And then it's going to go to ground. So ground is just basically it's going to be a place where you can just shove an infinite amount of electrons into. The reason being that we want electrons to go from one end to the other end. If we have like a big buildup of electrons in the wire, like say it's like water, you can't have a flow if you say your hose is going into a closed off full bucket of water. So if we have it going to a place like ground, that's basically like having, your hose go into the ocean. You can pretty much put as much current as you want going into ground. In the case of this Arduino board, you have things called earth ground and air ground. This is probably just going to a air ground. It's going to the metallic casing that it has. It might be more detailed than anybody wanted for this sort of circuit diagram, but there you go. This is our circuit diagram showing that we have a wire going from pin, it can be any pin. Let's say pin 13, because I did pin 13 before. It doesn't matter, we get to choose. So we're going from pin 13 to the positive end of the diode. Out of the negative end of the diode, we have our resistor. R1 right now is equaling 200 ohms. Ohm is a unit of electrical resistance, named after a guy whose name was Ohm. So there we go. That's our sketch. Now the next thing that we need to do is to build our program. So now let's work on the program. You can download this software just from Arduino's website. So arduino.cc / I'll just write it down. Let's just do a new one. Okay. And the website you can go to is arduino.cc. There you go. And I can put a link there for you too. But yeah, it's pretty quick, easy, and painless to do. All right. Okay, now that we're zoomed in a little bit on there first, I'm just going to go off of my booklet here to put in this program. So the first thing that I want to do is just declare what I have plugged in. So I'm saying that this is an integer, and I'm calling it LED pin, and it happens to be pin 13. This can be anything you want. It can say Bob, or it could say something offensive. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying what it is. Right now I just call it LED pin because it happens to be an LED pin. Okay, then we have our setup. So this is where we put the setup code, and this code runs once. So one of the things in the Arduino language, and you can see how it changes color there, which means that it's a pre-worked out function, I guess. So Pinmode, which means we want the Arduino to, recognize a pin here, and we're saying LED pin. I could just say 13, but then if I wanted to change, say I wanted to unplug it from 13 and put it in 10, then I'd have to change every time I call this 13, whereas if I use this sort of thing, it's very easy for me to change it. So this is LED pin, and this is going to be an output. And then we end that with a semicolon. So that's all we need to do to initialize. Now, the main code, this is the part of the code that runs over and over and over again until we tell it to stop. So, since this is going to be a digital output here, so that means it will just be on or off. That's all it's got. So we're going to say digital write, and you see that changed color because that's a Arduino thing. So we want our digital write to be the LED pin, and we want it to be value high because it's either going high or it's going low. So it's either on or it's off. So this high means on, and you can see again that this is something that it knows as a digital output. And there are other ways to do that too. But anyway, so that means that so after it does the initialization, it came down here, and it's going to run this over and over again. So it's going to write the LED pin is on. Then I have delay 1,000. This happens to be in milliseconds. So set delay in units of milliseconds. So 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. So that means that it's going to wait for a second. So it turns the pin on, it waits for a second. Then after 1 second, it goes to digital write low. Let's just go ahead and just say turn LED off. And I'm writing comments here because I'm not a very good programmer, but I think one thing I do well is write notes. So anything that's after this / is not going to count. The computer doesn't see it. So it's very useful there. And then we just have a delay. Again, 1,000. Set delay in milliseconds. Okay, so all that does, and then this is closed in by curly brackets. So now let's go ahead, let's save this as, and I went ahead and put a nice folder here. Okay, so now I'm going to upload my code from the computer to the Arduino I like to make sure it's saved, so I always do Control S and then Control U. So Control U uploads it. One thing that always seems to happen is I have to, make sure it's to the right port. And then you could also just go to Sketch and then upload, or you can do Control U. So now the computer is talking to the Arduino, and as soon as that's ready, it will go. Oh, and I actually had a mistake in my code. I forgot to put a semicolon at the last delay, which you know happens, so I'm not too put out by that. So now it's compiling the sketch, and when it's done we should start to see this. It should blink on for a second, blink off for a second. There we go. So there we go. That's a blinking LED. That's pretty fun, and it's pretty bright. So like for instance, if we want to change the brightness a little bit, I can take out this 200 ohm resistor and let's throw in a 10,000 ohm resistor, and you can see that's a lot less bright, but it doesn't affect the code at all. And if we wanted a green, we could put in a green. So yeah, there you go. There is a blinking LED. One thing we can do with this, just really quickly, let's go ahead and, well, to be safe, let's, take out the power. Okay, so we took out the power. Let's go ahead and rewire it according to our diagram. So starting with the Arduino pin 13, just like in our diagram, we go from 13, and that goes to, let's say 24. 24, we want to go to the positive end of the LED, so we stick that one in here. Then we stick our resistor. That goes from the negative end to the one that's marked negative here on the breadboard. And then on our breadboard we take that negative end and we're going to go to ground. And there we go. Since we already have our sketch uploaded, that makes our LED blink. Hope that's easy enough. But hopefully that's something that makes you want to play around with the Arduino and realize that it's not as hard as it might seem.